Nityarita Srimad His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai Om Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivarajakacarya Ashtota Shata Sri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासुति गौर भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरी गोवर्धन की वृंदावन मथुरा धाम की नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की गंगा माई यमुना माई की भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की समवेत भक्त वृंद की गौर प्रेमानंदे. All glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to the simple devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Garanga Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Okay. So today we are reading from 3rd Canto, chapter 25, verse number 5. So there are two compound words here, in the second line and the fourth line. It is Pratishte and Aranyam. There are two words. When you combine, it becomes Pratishte Aranyam. I mean, you can either do it together or separate it, doesn't matter. Pratishte Aranyam. And in the fourth line, you also have two words, Bindusare and Avastid. So when you combine it, it becomes Bindusare Avastid. So either you can just do it together or you can just separate them. It doesn't really matter. Maitreya Uvacha Patire Pratishteraranyam. No, actually, no, it's Pitari Pratishteraranyam. Matuhu Priya Chikirshaya Tasmin Bindusare Vaste Bhagavan Kapila Kila. Maitreya Uvacha Pitari Pratishteraranyam Matuhu Priya Chikirshaya Tasmin Bindusare Vatse Bhagavan Kapila Kila. Maitreya Uvacha Pitari Pratishteraranyam Matuhu Priya Chikirshaya Tasmin Bindusare Vatse Bhagavan Kapila Kila. Maitreya Uvacha Pitare Pratishteraranyam Matuhu Priya Chikirshaya Tasmin Bindusare Vaste Bhagavan Kapila Kila. Maitreya Uvacha Pitare Pratishteraranyam Matu Priya Chikirshaya Tasmin Bindusare Vatse Bhagavan Kapila Kila. Maitreya Uvacha पितरि प्रतिष्ठेरान्यं मातुः प्रियचिकीर्षया तस्मिन् बिन्दुसरे वासे कपिला किल माताजी मैत्रेय उवाच पितरि परिष्टेरन्यं मातुप्रिया चिकीर्षयां तस्मिन् बिन्दुसरे वास्ति भगवान् कपिलाखिल मैत्रेय उवाच पितरि प्रतिष्ठेरन्यं मातुप्रिया चिकीर्षया तस्मिन् बिन्दुसरे वात्सेत् भगवान् कपिलाखिल Maitreya Uvacha. Maitreya said, Pitari, when the father, Pratishte, left, Aranyam, for the forest, Matuhu, his mother, Priya Chikirshaya, with a desire to please, Tasmin, on that, Bindusare, Lake Bindusarovara. Avatset, he stayed. Bhagavan, the Lord. Kapilaha, Kapila. Kila, indeed. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovara to please his mother, Devahuti. We can repeat together. Maitreya said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovara to please his mother, Devahuti. Purport. In the absence of the father, it is a duty of the grown son to take charge of his mother and serve her to the best of his ability so that she will not feel separation from her husband. And it is the duty of the husband to leave home as soon as there is a grown son to take charge of his wife and family affairs. That is the Vedic system of household life. One should not remain continually implicated in household affairs up to the time of death. He must leave. Family affairs and the wife may be taken charge by a grown-up son. Thus ends the purport. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurmitam Ena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrujatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krupa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Okay, so welcome everyone for today's Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today we are on the 25th chapter, the glories of devotional service, in the 5th verse. So in this verse it said, when Kardama left for the forest, Lord Kapila stayed on the strand of the Bindu Sarovara to please his mother Devahuti. So this basically the current chapter number 25, it enunciates the principles of devotional service as told by Lord Kapila. And in the beginning few verses, as we are right now, it describes the situation, like what's happening. So it basically says that Kardama Muni is leaving for the forest, and Mother Devahuti, she is struck by the grief from the separation from her husband, and Lord Kapila, he takes charge of his mother, and eventually in the upcoming verses we will see the Lord Kapila instructs his mother Devahuti, and that is the main essence of this chapter, the teachings of Lord Kapila, where he describes about the glories of devotional service. So in the today's verse, it basically it describes the situation where the Kardama Muni leaves for the forest and Kapila takes charge of his mother. And in the purport, Prabhupada mentions about the principles of Varnashrama system, where once the husband leaves and takes sannyas, the grown-up son takes care of the family affairs and again gives protection to his mother. So it's a principle of Varnashrama Dharma, what Prabhupada is trying to explain in the purport. And here we see Kapila is giving protection to his mother. So protection in both a physical protection and also protection, it is the spiritual protection. Because as we know, Mother Devahuti, she was also desiring to achieve perfection. And in the 2 chapters before, we see the lamentation of Mother Devahuti, where she expresses her desires, right? So that is, and her wishes are fulfilled in this chapter, where she gets the transcendental knowledge when she hears the instructions from her son Kapila. And also at the same time, we also see that Mother Devahuti is in grief. It's because of the separation from her husband, because the husband is leaving, right? So that's why she was in the grief. But however, because the son Kapila is with her, right, at least she is pacified to some extent. Because the son is like a representative of the father, right? So even the father is not there, but she could feel the presence of her husband by looking at her son. Like in Krishna book also, when there's a chapter when Krishna enters Dwarka, we'll see the queens of Dwarka, they send their sons to embrace Krishna. I mean, they don't directly go close to Krishna. Instead, they send their sons to go and embrace Krishna. So in this way, because the son is not different from the mother, right? Because the son came from the mother. So in this way, even though they are not directly, physically touching Krishna, but they could feel the presence of Krishna through the son. So the same way, the son is also represents the father. So in this way, Kapila, Mother Devahuti, because of the presence of Kapila, she is pacified to some extent. So if you just take a step back and just see the overall theme, because we have made a significant progress in discussing the pastimes of Kardama and Devahuti, well, the entire pastimes of Kardama and Devahuti and Kapila, it spans over 14 chapters. It starts from the chapter number 20 and it goes all the way to chapter 33. So there are 14 chapters. In the 14 chapters, the first 4 chapters, it discusses about the Kardama and Devahuti, right? And in the current chapter, when the Kardama Muni leaves, the next 10 chapters, it is nothing but the conversation between Devahuti and Kapila. So the 10 chapters are dedicated towards the teachings of Lord Kapila. And today we are in this 25th chapter. And so we can just see, because the 10 chapters are dedicated just towards the teachings of Lord Kapila, so we can understand the stress the Bhagavatam wants to emphasize on this. This is the main essence of the pastimes of Devahuti and Kardama. And if you look at Kardama Muni, from the beginning, Kardama Muni, he was ordered by Lord Brahma, right, to produce 9 daughters, so who will eventually get married to the 9 sages, who will in turn continue the creation, right? So that is the main service, we can say, of Kardama, to produce 9 daughters. I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, if your service is just producing 9 daughters, and by that if you can please Lord Vishnu and get liberated, that doesn't really seem to be a very difficult task, right? I mean, if someone comes and tell you, all you need to do is just have 9 daughters and you'll get liberated. Right? It's not, but of course, it is not as simple as that. Of course, first of all, when we produce, first of all, we don't even know if it's a male or a female, right? And on top of that, see, Kardama Muni's duty is not just producing 9 daughters, right? Because in the 23rd chapter, after Kardama produces 9 daughters, you can see a conversation between Brahma and Kardama. So there Brahma says that now you give these 9 daughters to the 9 sages. And there he mentions that these 9 daughters are having the suitable temperament and character suiting for these 9 sages, you see. So it is not just producing 9 daughters, it is also producing 9 daughters who are qualified to get married to the 9 sages, right? I mean, marrying a sage is not a simple thing, right? I mean, it's like even Devahuti, right, to marry Kardama, she has almost the same, advancement and caliber, at least to the husband. So in the same way, for Kardama to produce 9 daughters, where these 9 daughters are qualified to be given in the marriage of the 9 great sages, it's not an ordinary thing, right? So, and when Kardama Muni, when he got this instruction, we can see how he conducted his service, right? If you see, I mean, he was instructed, I mean, Kapila has actually already performed austerity, and he got darshan of the Lord, and where he was instructed to perform the austerity. And so it looks like actually already Kardama also already achieved the perfection. But still, when he got the instruction to produce 9 daughters, again he does one more austerity. I mean, someone may ask, like, what is the need to do one more austerity, right? You already meditated for thousands of years, right? So basically that shows the sincerity of his service, right? Because he wants to take it seriously. It is not just some simple thing that you have to give 9 daughters and you just produce 9 daughters. It's not so simple like that, because even my grandfather, he has 6 children. So, and my grandfather's father, he had 12 children. So producing, especially if you're a man, I mean, giving birth to a child is not really a difficult task. I mean, at least you don't have to undergo the labor, right, if you're a man. So that is where, by understanding the character of Kardama Muni and qualities of Kardama Muni, there are so many instructions we can learn ourselves. Like, there are like 3 types of disciples. So first class, second class, and third class disciple. So the third class disciple, let's say for example, the Guru says that bring me a glass of water, right? Then this third class disciple, he will think, why should I bring? Maybe somebody else will bring, right? Or maybe if you give it to him, he will go and tell to somebody else, that you go and bring it to the Guru, right? He's lazy. Or when he tells to bring the glass of water, he will get a glass of milk, so that so Guru will be pleased. So either he's lazy or unintelligent. And the second class disciple, when the Guru says bring a glass of water, he will exactly bring a glass of water, nothing more, nothing less. And the first class disciple will go above and beyond to make sure that he understands and tries to please the Guru. That, like for example, maybe if it is hot, or if it is hot outside, maybe he'll just bring a cold water, right? Or if it is cold outside, maybe he'll bring a warm glass of water. So in this way, Kardama Muni, when he received these instructions, he took it very sincerely and seriously, and he performed austerity, and he did his service perfectly, without compromising. So that is one lesson we can understand, inculcate ourselves by understanding, reading the pastimes of Kardama Muni. And also the other thing is that after he has fulfilled this, mission, right? Or, his duty to produce 9 daughters, he immediately left the house. He's not that he's, attached to his family and the son, even though the son is Vishnu himself. But, however, to set the right example, to set the standards, and following in the principles of Varnashrama Dharma, he took sannyas. And interestingly, if you see the 24th chapter, the last verse, which is almost like a last verse, talking about the glory of Kardama Muni, where it talks about the Kardama got liberation, and it says there, Ichcha dvesha vihinena sarvatra samachetasa bhagavad bhakti yuktena prapta bhagavati gatihi. So this verse basically talks about, Kardama Muni, and it's basically it said that he's freed from all hatred and desire. Kardama Muni, being equal to everyone because of discharging uncontaminated devotional service, ultimately attain the path back to Godhead. So in this verse, if you see, if you ask a question, what is that quality of Kardama Muni which made him eligible to go back to Godhead, liberation, is this verse. This verse exactly talks about what is that one quality of Kardama Muni which made him qualified to go back to Godhead. It is said here, freed from all hatred and desire, Kardama Muni, being equal to everyone because of discharging uncontaminated devotional service. You see, there are two things here. First thing is that, he cleansed himself, he's a purified soul, right? There's no more material contamination in him. And how did he reach that stage? He reached that stage because he performed uncontaminated devotional service. So in the purport, also Prabhupada highlights two things. The one thing is, Kardama Muni, by his perfect devotional knowledge and service, achieved this ultimate goal. So there are two things which qualified Kardama Muni to achieve liberation. What are these? Devotional knowledge and service. See, he was a yogi, he was a mystic yogi, but still there is an aspect of service. He's still trying to please Supreme Lord. And even this mystic yoga he's performed, that is also a part of his service. But the ultimate goal is to please Lord Vishnu. And not only service, but he also has devotional knowledge. Because he has devotional knowledge, he has these qualities of freed from hatred and desire. Right? So this is a byproduct of knowledge. Like someone who has a transcendental knowledge, this is a quality of a sthita prajna. So in this way, we can see there are two aspects. One is the service, and second thing is knowledge. So both service and knowledge, both are required. That is why in Krishna, in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, it said, Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. So there are two things, right? Sevaya means service. Pariprashna means ask questions. Questions for what? So that we acquire the transcendental knowledge. That is why if you see Devahuti also, see, she was performing service, right? In the end, from the beginning of the 20th chapter, or maybe 21st or 22nd chapter, after marrying Kardama Muni, she was very sincerely performing the service without any compromise. But however, she still says that, or maybe I'll just say it in a different way. Or basically, the service aspect of her Devahuti, she pleased or she served Kardama Muni. And for the devotional knowledge, that she got it through her son Kapila. So there are two things again. For Devahuti also to achieve perfection, seva and jnana, service and transcendental knowledge. Both are required. That is why, couple of weeks back when Mukundatta Prabhu was giving his class, so he was mentioning one example where he said that when Prabhupada was physically present, like there were many devotees serving him and very in a close physical proximity, right? But however, not everyone stayed on the path, right? So service was there, but at the same time, if one does not understand the science of Krishna consciousness, then one does not stay on the path of bhakti, right? So both are required, service and the knowledge. By service, one actually becomes qualified and one gets the mercy of a pure devotee so that one can understand the science of Krishna consciousness. So in this current verse, we can see Mother Devahuti, she is actually lamenting, or she's grieving. But actually, but the thing is that the grief is actually a sign of ignorance, right? So, but however, this grief, because now she is grieving, now she start asking questions to Kapila. In the next few verses, you will see she'll start asking her questions, and Kapila starts responding, right? So this grief is something which is good, so that she inquires, she tries to question about the transcendental knowledge, which eventually leads into her perfection. The same thing we can see in the Bhagavad Gita also, right? Arjuna is also grief-stricken, and that is how he starts asking questions to Arjuna, and that is where Krishna starts explaining the transcendental knowledge. So in this way, this is very common. Like if you read many pastimes in Bhagavatam, also we see this similarity, where some devotees are grief-stricken, or like Arjuna or Devahuti, where it kind of creates an impetus for them to ask questions and make an inquiry into knowing the absolute truth, which eventually leads to their perfection. Or sometimes it can also happen that someone is insulted, like Vidura, right? Vidura, he was insulted, where that's why he decided to just leave the house and take to the path of spiritual life seriously, right? Or some people may not be either way. I mean, some people may neither be grieving, nor maybe they may be insulted. But then they have some interference of a sadhu or a sage. They're coming and telling that, hey, you know what? Now it's time for you to take your spiritual life seriously. Like, for example, Vidura, right? Vidura, he goes to Dhritarashtra that why are you so shamelessly staying in the house of your Pandavas, that take the spiritual life seriously. And that is where Vidura inspires Dhritarashtra to just leave his house. So in this way, all these things should be taken as actually the Lord's mercy, Krishna's mercy, because they come in different ways. But the most important thing is that when this grief, when a person is struck by the grief, oftentimes it so happens that the person becomes insensitive or indifferent, right? Because of the constant grief. That is why you see a lot of people who are interested in spiritual path, they are more inclined towards impersonalism, right? It's very less people actually take to devotional service. Most of the people who take to the spiritual life. This is the reason. Because of this too much of grief, they become too indifferent. That is why in the 11th canto it is mentioned what is the qualification to practice devotional service. So over there it is mentioned that one should not be too attached, not too detached. If you're too detached, then you basically will become like a hard-hearted person, where you become too renounced and which is not really congenial for practice of bhakti. And of course, even the same point, Rupa Goswami also discusses in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where over-renunciation, how it can lead to the hardening of the heart, and which is not really congenial for practice of devotional service. That is why renunciation is not really one of the 64 limbs of bhakti. So now here we can see that Devahuti starts her inquiry, and but before that, in the current verse, we can see this principle of Varnashrama Dharma, where she has taken the shelter of her son Kapila. So basically, this taking shelter is not just, as I mentioned, is not just for the physical protection, but also for her spiritual protection also. And that is why in the 3rd chapter, because in the 23rd chapter also, Mother Devahuti, she says, Vanchita Mayaya Dridam, where she says, surely I have been solidly cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For in spite of having obtained your association, which gives a liberation from bondage, I did not seek such liberation. So this is where Mother Devahuti, she's lamenting that even though she has performed the service nicely to the Kardama Muni, but she still feels that there's a need for her to acquire this transcendental knowledge so that she can be liberated. And if you see the life of Devahuti also, she is also actually setting a lot of good example for us to follow. Just like as I explained about Kardamuni, if you look at Devahuti also, she is also actually setting the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. The first one by actually marrying to Kardamuni and nicely and sincerely serving her husband, right? Which eventually she got blessings to have Kapila as her son. And now we can also see the second principle of Varnashrama Dharma, where she is taking the shelter of her son Kapila. So both of these things are actually helping her in her spiritual advancement, right? So this principle actually of taking shelter is important both for the material life and the spiritual life. Because material life also, because we have this physical body, right? Physical body requires some protection, right? A woman is protected by a man, and a weak man is protected by a stronger man or a king, and ultimately everybody is protected by Krishna. So this principle of protection is everywhere. It doesn't really matter whether you're in a spiritual life or a material life. But however, someone can actually ask a question that these principles of Varnashrama Dharma, like how relevant is it for a devotee's life? I mean, how important it is? Because if it is so important, then why is it that these principles of Varnashrama Dharma are not mentioned in the 64 limbs of bhakti? There are 64 limbs of bhakti, right? Is Varnashrama one of the 64 limbs of bhakti or not 64 limbs of bhakti? It is not actually. Of course, someone can say, oh, maybe it's a part of one more limb of bhakti, right? It may be included, but we don't know. No, actually it is not. That is why Rupa Goswami, after writing 64 limbs of bhakti, he also clarifies what are not limbs of bhakti, just to make sure that people are not misunderstanding, right? So that there actually he mentions that Varnashrama is not a limb of bhakti. He want to make sure. He says clearly that Varnashrama is not a limb of bhakti. Then someone may ask a question, then why is it that we are stressing so much on the principles of Varnashrama? Right? That question can be raised. Of course, there can be many answers given to this question, but we can just see the life of Kardama Muni and Devahuti itself, that how by following the principles of Varnashrama Dharma helped Mother Devahuti to achieve perfection, right? So the first principle is, first of all, she married Kardama Muni. She was sincerely serving her, right? And that eventually, Kardama Muni blessed her, and now she has the Kapila as her son. And now we can see Mother Devahuti taking the shelter of protection of Kapila, where he is instructing her the signs of devotional service. So in this way, you can see that how by following the principles of Varnashrama Dharma, it is helping Mother Devahuti to achieve perfection, right? So, and this Varnashrama Dharma, we should not misunderstand it to be some kind of a mundane social life or a social order. No, it is not so. That is where the Varnashrama Dharma, it becomes Daivi Varnashrama, especially when the people whom you are trying to serve are devotees. Either your husband or a wife or a child, if they happen to be a devotee, then it's no longer a mundane social life. It's actually a devotional life. That is why it is called Daivi Varnashrama system. So that is why we can see here how Devahuti has achieved this perfection by serving her husband and taking the protection of her son, right, which eventually, led to her perfection. And that is where, in the Prabhupada also, in this purport, focusing or emphasizing on devotees practicing this or giving importance to the principles of Varnashrama Dharma. That should be it. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay. Thank you very much. And Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai.